Well, welcome everybody. This is John Sarver, a GLREA board member, and let me thank our sponsors, the State Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, EGLE, and Homeland Solar, Harvest Solar, and Shree Energy. And tonight we have Rick Freiman, who's a regular on our Thursday night get-togethers, who's going to tell us his solar story. And, I think as some of you know that part of his solar story has to do with his uh, interactions with his homeowners association. And so I think that's, and other people have had similar sort of issues. So I thought that's be an interesting aspect. Please mute yourself. Rick's going to have a 25-minute, 30-minute presentation, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So go ahead, Rick.
Okay, thanks, John. My name is Rick Freiman. I moved to Portage, Michigan from Rockford, Illinois, after retiring in 2016 from my work as a controller in manufacturing. My wife wanted to follow the grandkids who live in Matawan, Michigan, so that's how I got here. This presentation is about my journey in getting rooftop solar a couple months ago after being denied by my homeowners association 6 years ago in March of 2019. It's also about what I've learned about the environmental and cost benefits during my first month of ownership. So I'm going to be talking about my HOA solar ban, getting the laws changed, then my solar freedom, as I call it, and get into the solar production of my system and the things I've learned with using the Enphase app and show that, and also get into costs and savings, and then close it up with some takeaways. So the Homeowners Association solar ban had, they asked people to fill out applications for any type of change in their property that might affect the appearance. And so I filled out this thing with asking permission to put solar panels on. That was in March 2019.
Excuse me, Rick. Are you? Are you showing slides now, or?
Yes.
Oh, I don't see anything.
Oh.
Do the sharing again.
Okay. It'd be kind of boring. All right. Share screen. I put some links in the chat already also.
Okay, you're okay. Now I'm looking at myself, but like we did before. But
okay. So now.
Two of me is too many.
There we go. Now you're seeing.
Yep, now we're good. It's there. Yep, there we go. My solar story, full screen, looks good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that was this overview I just talked about, these items. So the solar ban, this was the application of the HOA. So now this is just my heartbreak as I got this in the mail, April 2019, where it says, okay, so now I'm going to show my inexperience moving this thing. Here we go. This request has been denied for the following reasons, and basically they're unable to approve it. Unable because the aesthetics of the solar panels do not complement the aesthetics of the neighborhood. And they said that could maybe consider Tesla solar shingles, which really weren't available at that time. So that was my disappointment. And turns out that this the name of the association is Moors of Portage Association. And there's a committee. This is what was really amazing to find out, that there's a committee, Architectural Control Committee, that decides on these things. And it makes it sound like, well, there's a few people within the HOA that just kind of look over these things. And the HOA could, as a whole, you could affect the laws that happen in there. Anyway, the bylaws say that this Architectural Control Committee has 3 votes out of 5 for any business that's done within the HOA. And the other 2 votes then go to the 250 homeowners, condo owners in the association. So the Architectural Control Committee has 60% of the say on whatever happens. So there's no way you can overcome that if they don't like what's going on. So that was the end of that. And I had just put a new roof on. I was hoping to put solar panels, and I couldn't do it. So that was it for about a year. And within that year, Sevilla Man from WMUK heard me complaining and decided to make a story out of it. And she also was in contact with the Joseph Hess in Meridian Township in East Lansing. So she interviewed me, and the story kind of was aired in April, and it had this headline, and there's a link to this in the chat if anyone's interested. So that was that. I went to the mayor, I said, of Portage, Mayor Randall, and asked her if she could, if there was any way I could put these things on. And she said that the HOAs, as long as they obey city ordinances, that they can set whatever other rules they want. So couldn't do that. So then,
You're not full screen anymore.
oh, okay, thanks.
Now you're good.
All right, thank you. Go about changing the law. And because Sevilla Man knew I had this problem, she looked up and she found this old bill, HB 6304, that was introduced by Rep. Neely, and which went nowhere, just died in committee like a lot of stuff does. But it showed that there was interest in this particular law back in 2018. So I thought, well, maybe that could be resurrected. So I talked to a local state representative, John Hoadley, and also State Senator Sean McCann, both of Kalamazoo, about introducing legislation, but they said that there wasn't anyone interested in dealing with that at that time. So that was that. And then the midterm elections happened in November of 22, and that changed a lot of things. For 2 years, Michigan had its first Democratic trifecta. And I think it's around that time that I was involved with GLREA and had some conversations, or met John Freiman, and he made some comments to me, told me about some Illinois legislation that was already passed in 2021. So I went and I found that, and then someone directed me to Senator Irwin also. So I sent an email to Jeff Irwin asking him and telling him that this legislation had been passed in Illinois. Oh, and I also found out that he had introduced his own bill, SB 1101, back in September of 2020. And that was referred to the Committee on Local Government. And that didn't move, and that died. So I said, well, that must be where these things go, the Committee on Local Government. So I started asking around. I knew Denise Keel was active in the Michigan Climate Action Network, and she knew a lot of people in Lansing. So I appealed to her to keep an eye out for, or any support for legislation might come along. And then I found the chair of the local government committee for the House, John Fitzgerald. So I emailed him a copy of this Illinois legislation and referenced Jeff Irwin, sent a copy to all the committee members, and my link to the WMUK story that kind of told how I was stuck. Then in September of 23 now, Denise Keel connected me with somebody she came across, Grace Minchenzi from Michigan Energy Innovation Business Council. I was not familiar with, which they apparently had an interest in advancing legislation about this HOA issue. That was just a few weeks after I had contacted Denise Keel. And Grace emailed me saying that they were, back on the 13th of September, they were working on getting some legislation introduced. At the same time, I got a hold of Julie Rogers, representative in the House, who was on this local government committee. I thought because she's on the committee, she could help. And copied my own representative, Christine Morse. And then later, Julie Rogers' legislative aide told me at a coffee talk that he thought someone was working on the bill. That was probably Grace Menenchi. So then about a week later, all of a sudden it popped out that a bill HB 5028, the Homeowners Energy Policy Act, was introduced by a different person, Representative Ranjiv Puri, with 20 co-sponsors, including my representative and Julie Rogers and many others. And then it was referred to the House Committee on Natural Resources, and not the local government committee. So I found out later that the Speaker of the House can just refer these bills to any committee they want to, and I don't know how they decide that. Anyway, that's where it ended up in this committee, Natural Resources. Then October, that committee recommended to the whole House that bill HB 5028. So that was moving along. And then on November 1st, it actually passed the House of Representatives, 56-54 along party lines, and sent over to the Senate. And then there in the Senate, it was referred to the Committee on Energy and Environment with my own Senator Chair Sean McCann on it. But two months later, it sat there and it was discharged. The discharge committee approved it and reassigned it to a committee on housing and human services. So this thing is bouncing around and it's in the Senate now, but it's in a different committee. So then brings us up to February of 24. It was approved out of the Senate Housing Committee and referred to the Committee of the Whole, which I'm not sure how that works. But the committee approved it and sent it to the Senate floor for the overall Senate to vote on it in June. And then they passed it on June 20th, again along strict party lines, and they sent it to the governor. It was signed by the governor on July 10th of 24 and became law. But it wasn't effective until 90 days after the end of the session, which ended December 31st. So in other words, it was effective March 31st of 25 of this year. John Richter made this slide just kind of summarizing a couple of key points about the act. It limits the HOAs from restricting these things that we want, like solar panels and kind of other things, that a list of things that all this language actually was taken out of the Illinois legislation. You can look at the two things and they're very similar. And for the solar, the HOAs can have some reasonable restrictions, but whatever they do, they can't reduce the output of the solar panels by more than 10% or increase the cost of the system by more than $1,000. And it's interesting to hear that over 8,000 HOAs in Michigan, there's over 8,000 of them, representing 7% of the homes in Michigan. So, and I'm sure a lot of them had the same problems. So that opened up the my solar freedom. And so here, if I can, this is where I might have problems, but anyway, March 18th of this year, application is approved. And they had a bunch of reasonable things about it, nothing that would restrict me. So that was my go ahead, and 4 days later, there they were. It's kind of interesting how they look on top of the house. When on a sunny day, they look really dark against a lighter roof. And then you get a cloudy day and different lighting, and they almost blend in with the roof. And with a tree growing in front of it, the leaves come on, and you don't even see them even that much. So one of the first things they had to deal with, or what I was concerned with, was the looks of the thing, because I had panels on the roof and on the garage. And to get from the roof down to the side of the garage where the electrical panels were, I was worried they're going to have to put conduit across the roof and down the wall and across this roof. And that even I would be thinking that was not aesthetically appealing. I've seen some of those in Chicago, and it really doesn't look too good. So Helios, who installed the project, went in there, and they went into my attic in the dark and waded through 18 inches of cellulose insulation to put conduit into the attic. And then they ran the conduit along the wall and then down the attic floors here, and down through the attic floor and into the attic of the garage, and then out of the wall into the attic of the garage, and then over to the side of the garage. So that is why it looks so clean. You don't see any conduit anywhere. It's just kind of, I tell these guys, it looks good. I don't see how anybody can complain about them, but so they started putting on these things, and they attached the rails, and they attached the panels to the rails. 6 days after I had them put on, it's still spring, but I got snow. And so I didn't get much production that day. My average is, actually I've been getting high production, like in the 40 kilowatts per day. And this day was like 10 kilowatts or something, but I had the experience of them melting and then the snow sliding down. And over in the front where our bedrooms are, the snow fell off and then down onto this lower roof here. And so there's no real risk of anybody getting dumped on, except that in the night, there was quite a big thud, which I then determined was the snow coming off the roof. Now we get into production, and it starts to get interesting. When I got the quote, they quoted me that I could get maybe around 11,000 kilowatt hours per year generated from these panels. And I found this, and then I could save like $130 a month on the bill. So I was looking for ways to, kind of verify that or get comfortable with it. And I came across this organization called National Renewable Energy Lab that has this PV watts link software. And I have a link of that in the chat if anybody's interested. But all you do is, I can show you here. You put in your address, put in mine here. Well, this might be, okay. So it looks like I have technical problems. We won't be able to do that. But put in the address and it just asks for the system size and it gives you all this information. Thought I had a better picture of this. You can see off to the side, it breaks this 11,000 kilowatt hours that you expect to get for the whole year, and it breaks it down by month. So you can see here's the production, estimated production by month. And my first month, I have one bill so far, and got about 1,100 kilowatt hours generated. So it's kind of in the ballpark of what this thing says. And this software uses your geographical location, latitude, longitude, whatever, and it pretty easily calculates what your production is. But the hang up is you have to enter the size of the system, and your average person won't know what to put in there. So here's kind of something I learned in this whole process is that the utilities allow you to get enough capacity to equal your annual electric bill. And that legislation got changed to bump it up to, they have to allow 110% of your annual usage on your electric bill. So you can look at your electric bill, get roughly what you have for a year. In my case, mine was 9168 kilowatt hours. Gave me 10,085 kilowatt hours. It's 110% of my usage. Then you have to convert that to DC, kilowatts of DC. That's what this program wants. And for me, to do that, you divide by 1116, 1116. I have no idea how that works, but the utilities use that to determine what they're going to let you put in, the maximum you can put in. And and they don't, different arrays, depending on if you got shade or what direction it's pointing, whatever, they might not be all the same productive, but it's an easy way for the utilities to determine a reasonable size, and they can go back later when you apply for a permit and let you have that much capacity. So for me, the maximum would have been 9.03 kilowatt hours, kilowatt capacity DC, or 9,000 watts. Now, find how many panels I could put in from that system. I knew that from my quotes that I could get 430 watts per panel. So I just divided the 99,000 watts by 430 watts, and it gave me 21 panels. But that was the maximum, and I chose to use only 20 panels to make it more aesthetically appealing. Then you'd have even rectangles. I wouldn't have some oddball panel sticking there. So that reduced my capacity of my system down to 8.6 kilowatts DC system size. So I plugged that in. You can't see it, it's kind of real small, but 8.6 DC system size. And from that, then it generated the 11,136 annual and spread out all these things by month for the year. So I thought that's pretty good. So anybody can do this. It's free. And if you want to get some reference points, or the reason I think it's important is because when I was quoted these things, I got quoted only 18 panels. And had I not known about this, I might have just got 18 panels when I was entitled to like 21 panels. So I got all the panels that I wanted because I knew that I could get more. When I asked about it, they said, oh yeah, we can do that. Why they didn't try to sell me on more panels at the beginning, I'm not sure. So now we get into some interesting things a lot of people want to know about, and the cost and savings. And there's another one that's real hard to read. My point on this one is, you're probably familiar with these from your own bills, but Consumers Energy will send you this bar graph, and this little blue thing down here shows you what they're billing you for in the current month. And it's 274 kilowatt hours. Now you look at my history for like 2 years, and that's really low. So that shows that my bill is getting reduced as far as what they're charging me for. So before I did this, I asked for examples of bills with solar on them, and I got a lot of examples, but I could never figure out what the total production was and what the solar production that you would use, what that would be. So I didn't know that until now, where through the Enphase app, it tells you your total solar production. And then you can see that like in this case, my total production was 496 kilowatt hours for the whole month. And consumers billed me only 274. So that difference, 222 kilowatt hours, was me consuming my solar production. That was like 45% of my consumption I got for free from my solar panels. And you can't see that on your utility bills. Now, I assume a lot of people would want to just kind of see the difference in bills. Here, this is my first whole month's electricity bill, May 2025. The range is, to be specific, it's from April 21st through May 19th. And my bill for electricity is $1.57. Here's last year over to the left, same time period, and my bill was $190. So pretty good savings. I will say that included in this $190 was a big chunk for the solar gardens, Consumers Energy solar gardens that I was subscribed to. I had 9 blocks and $9 per block, totaling $81 I subscribed to. And I paid that every month. And then the credits would come through at whatever, they kind of averaged maybe $30 a month over the year's time. So it cost me about $50 a month additional to get that. And each block was like 4.5 kilowatt hours capacity. And so they gave me like a half a kilowatt hours capacity. So times 9, it gave me 4.5 kilowatt hours capacity. I paid $50 a month. And that was pretty expensive. When we talk about community solar, otherwise, all the examples of real community solar, you get a credit. It might not be a whole lot, but it doesn't cost you anything. You actually save money and you're getting clean energy. All right, so here is going back to my $57 bill. How they did that, they have a new section up here called self-generated outflow. And I had capacity that I sold back to Consumers Energy. I had about 1,100 produced by my solar panels. I only used a little bit of it, and 835 got sold back. And they sell that back to you at the rates that you buy it from. On the bill, you can see these are the same rates here for the supply. And you add up these two things here, and they total about, I'll say, 9 cents per kilowatt hour. This PSCR is it's a power source cost recovery. It's just a small amount. It's kind of like a true up that they do monthly for the actual energy. Anyway, they roll all that in and they give you credit for that. You don't get credit for sales tax, but you get credit for the energy. And so that gave me at 10 cents times 835 kilowatt hours, $82 credit. So did they give that on my bill? No, they gave me only $55.79 and carried over the remainder, $26 for the future. So maybe I'll have something accumulating for the rest of the year that'll help me through the winter. Anyway, that was the credit, and that totally wiped out my bill itself, which would have been $57, and to make it $1.57. So hope that's helpful to some people who are curious. Oh, one thing I knew about the sales tax, you'll notice down here, I could never get it to come out, and I found that it's actually a 4% rate. And there's a couple things that are not taxable, like low income assistance fund. But anyway, when you save money by using your own solar, you're saving the sales tax along with all kinds of other things here, the power plant securitization and distribution, whatever. So you're saving about 20 cents per kilowatt hour when you use your own solar energy. Now, this is what really little thing that comes along with the solar panels. I asked Helios if everybody gets this. And they said, well, yeah, it's really, Enphase has this software, and Helios just set it up for me. And it kind of, I got 3 examples of what you might see when you look at it. And there's a horizontal line here on each one. This is a sunny day. And above the horizontal line, it shows incoming electricity. And this is a 24-hour graph from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. at midnight. And then over on this axis, it's the kilowatt hours used. And these are in 15-minute increments. And so you add up 4 of them to really see what you get kilowatt hour for an hour. But that's what the graph is provided of. It's on my phone. I look at it more than I do Instagram or anything else. And my wife even got it because she could say, oh, what are these spikes here? What are we using electricity on? It's ovens on, or plug in the electric car or whatever. So on the upper end of this horizontal line is the incoming electricity, and below it is the outgoing electricity. And the outgoing orange is my consumption, and the outgoing gray is all the excess that my panels produced that I'm selling back to consumers. So and the gray above the horizontal line is what I have to import from consumers and then pay them the higher rate. But if you use electricity at all at night when the sun's not shining, there's no way out of it. There's another example of how the graph might work for when there's snow. I think I only got, it tells you can't really see it here. The production here is like 10 kilowatt hours. The production on a sunny day is 54 kilowatt hours for this blue bubble here. And out of town, another sunny day, I had 55 kilowatt hours produced by this blue bubble. And there was hardly any electricity used because we were out of town. But I got it exported. It totals it up for you, 51 kilowatt hours exported. Now the Enphase app also, if you want to, then I want to compare it with my actual utility bill. So they have you can make reports. I ran a report here and put in the dates of my utility bill, April 21st, 25 through May 18th. And then it gives me these consumed 472, exported 569, total produced, they rounded off to 1.1 megabyte. So I wanted to compare that with the bill and found that it didn't exactly match up. Now there was a power outage one of the days, but I mean, still the Enphase and the utility should have been stopped both at the same time. But I found that over in this column, I noticed the differences between the bills. And this Enphase report said I got 822 kilowatt hours that I exported to them for 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Consumers Energy had even a little bit higher, 835. I don't know why. It was 12 difference, about 2% difference. And on the import side, what I would have to pay for if I bought it from consumers, consumers said 273, that's what they billed me for. And Enphase said it was actually 19 kilowatt hours less than that. That's about a 7% difference. Anyway, they're not big, but it gives you an idea of the imports, the exports. And then over here, I tried to show my savings. Okay. And this is the only way that you can find out what your production is. Like I said, on utility bills, the Consumers Energy, you can't find out your total production of your solar panels or your total consumption that you use in your house, because they don't give you the information on the solar generation. So through Enphase app, then I could look up here and find that they estimate the production, and I could look day by day if I wanted to add it up, but it was like a 1,057 kilowatt hours. And so that was the total produced. And out of that, 835 were exported, and that was from the Consumer Energy bill. So I calculated, I had to determine this, that what I consumed, that was 222 kilowatt hours of production that I consumed myself. And so then with the solar consumed 222, and then the imported that I had to buy from consumers, 273 kilowatt hours, the total energy that I consumed, I had to calculate this, 495 kilowatt hours. That's 100% of my consumption. It's not on the bill. That's the only way to find it, is to do these calculations. And a lot of people probably don't even look at their electric bills and don't care, but I'm kind of a geek about this. So then the savings, saved from the export alone is pretty obvious. You have exported 835 kilowatt hours back there, and you get about 10%, and that shows up on your bill as a credit. So there's $83 savings from exporting to the Consumers Energy, which happens just automatically. You don't have to worry about it. You can go away on vacation, whatever. It just keeps exporting and you send it back. Then the other part is what you actually save by using your own solar energy. And so I got saving from the solar consumption. There was those credit hours, I think that was 222 solar consumed, 222 hours times the full cost, which is 20 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's about $44. So 83 plus 44, $127 saved on that bill. I threw in another $50 because I canceled my Solar Gardens um, subscription, but for everybody else, they want to see what their savings are, 127. That's pretty close to what I was quoted as far as uh, they said like $130 a month. And in April, that's probably an average of what it might be for the whole year monthly. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That was something I learned there. The Enphase app, you can see on the app that's on the phone, all the panels are listed out. I got my 8 on the garage and the ones on the house. I can see what they're producing. And if one goes bad, it would go dark. So if I would know about it right away. So it shows individual performance. And on June 11th, 20 pallets, these produced 47 kilowatts as of 6 in the evening. Actually, towards the end, I think I'm going to make it. This is a greenhouse gas inventory I just put in here. It shows the metric tons of CO2 from different sources, like my gas bill, which is furnace and water heater. I got 3.85 metric tons. Gasoline that I use, I even threw in food scraps lately. I found there was a factor for that. Doesn't amount to much though. Electricity from my energy bill, that's a big one. That's about like 3.67 metric tons. So that total, my carbon footprint is like 9.34 metric tons per year from all these dirty energy, if you want to call it that. Now I got these solar panels, and this produces with the 11,000 kilowatt hours at the factor of 0.00007, gives me a negative or an offset or a reduction of my carbon footprint by 7.8 metric tons. So that wipes out most of it just with my solar panels and leaves me with almost 2 metric tons, which I'm working on electrifying my house and I can get rid of the gas. And then I'd be negative, and I would be better than net zero. So, and with this 11,000 kilowatt hours that I'm getting on my solar panels, I want to make the point that it doesn't matter whether I use it or the rest of it goes back on the grid. All this is clean energy that is generated and is used by someone else, and it displaces dirty energy. So that's the good thing. So here's the takeaways from this presentation. Getting a law passed takes a lot of people, time, and luck. You might be eligible for more. Number 2, you might be eligible for more solar panels than you think. So go use that 1116 formula, and if you're going to buy some and get the maximum you think you can swing. 3, you can get a good estimate of your solar benefits on your own from going to that PV Watts software, which is free on the internet. Number 4, your utility bill will not tell you how much solar you used. And if other people give you a copy of their bill with solar, that won't tell it either. So they have to figure it out by looking at the Enphase app or some other way. Number 5, your export credit back to consumers it's only at half the price of what you pay for when you buy it from them. You buy it at 20 cents a kilowatt hour from Consumers Energy and sell it back at only 10 cents. And finally, you can make a big reduction in your carbon footprint. I made it. Okay, 15 minutes.
Thank you, Rick. And the first question goes to Lee. Well, I want you to stop the screen sharing, Rick. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, I was interested when you said you wanted the thing to look like a rectangle rather than having an odd panel. And of course, 21 panels divided by 3 rows is 7, so that would be a rectangle. Did your contractor suggest that he had to stay a certain distance away from the edge of the roof? Or could have you put all 21 on one roof, is there some restriction about the edge of roof?
My wife is helping me stop my sharing. Okay, am I back to normal on the
Yep.
screen?
You're looking good. Yep.
Okay. Um, I know there is a fire code that says you gotta have it like 3 feet on the edge of the panels to go up and down, so I know that much. As far as, it seems like you could almost squeeze 7 on the house, but I'm thinking maybe there wasn't enough space on there. I didn't measure it, but if we go back, the house was pretty filled up. So
I think you're right about the fire code, and I didn't know whether it was all the way around or only at the top.
and I don't know all the way around. Actually, that's a good question. I know at least on the side, so they can get up there and get to the top if they need to. But
Yeah, well, thank
yeah,
you very much.
sure.
Go ahead, Dave.
Hi, thank you very much. Uh, It sounds to me, the more I listen to these presentations, that uh, saving power before you decide to go solar or before get the estimates and start the installation and so on, that you want to use as much power as you can so that you can get a bigger system than you might really need for your daily life as a whole. And then I have another little question. How many people are in your family are living in the house?
Who? So if for some reason my usage looked a little bit low, that's probably why. It's just, yeah. And that's why we can see spikes. It's usually pretty on the orange on the Enphase app. The spikes happen when Deb turns on the oven and does some baking, or we turn on the dryer, or I plug in the car, and then we start thinking, oh, we got to see if we can move all that heavy duty use into that underneath that blue bubble. So it gets to be kind of a video game where you kind of try to time it and get free electricity. But yeah, as far as saving before you get solar panels, yeah, I was motivated to go the other way, where I tried to almost waste electricity so I could get the kilowatt hours up before I had to meet the consumer's energy criteria.
Hey, Rick, I'm wondering, since you had some issues with your HOA, after you had your installation done, did you get any comments from neighbors, either positive or negative?
Yeah, all the neighbors, maybe 10 different neighbors I had talked to, and they all said positive things, yeah, they look great, or, they never cared about solar panels anyway. But I was kind of proud just because I've seen some bad ones. If people haven't seen some bad ones with conduit across it and kind of the gray panels with the aluminum screens and different colors, they don't look so good. So I think these are about the best they can look, what they put on my house.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
So did you get feedback from the homeowners association, or have they been cooperative?
They're cooperative in the sense that I didn't hear from them, and that's good. I mean, they're nice people. They're concerned about, things looking natural and looking good. I appreciate that. But yeah, so they went along with it and no complaints.
You mentioned Joe Hess in your presentation, and after he won the battle with his condominium association, which is a whole different, similar, but same sort of, can be same sort of issues. Actually, other members of the condo association installed some solar, and so he kind of led the way, and some folks followed him. Did anybody in your area, neighborhood, kind of follow your example?
One other neighbor was in the solarized group with me, so they put him in, and he got batteries. So he got it after me, so he hasn't got his full month bill yet, but I'm interested to see how that is different than mine and what he did with it. He's an electric car. Mine's only a plug-in hybrid, so I do still burn some gasoline. We only have one car, and so we just decided on that. There was one guy, I feel a little bad about this, but when the solar law went into effect, I knew this one guy was interested in them. He's a few houses away, and I let him know that the law passed, and he jumped right on it. And he had somebody put in a few weeks, put him on it, even before the law went into effect. And I thought we would be talking about it, and I could kind of caution him about these things, and he just went ahead and did it. And that was Climax Solar, and they went out of business, and he's stuck. Yeah, so hopefully somebody will help him, get him hooked up and working with consumers. And when you get somebody, there's a third neighbor that is now interested too, and they're going to try to get them put in before the end of the year. But I think that's one of the main things that get people interested in when they see them in the neighborhood, and they kind of ask questions and they kind of get interested from there. So I'm hoping it'll grow even if some of the tax credits disappear.
John, Marcia Curran's got a question.
Yeah, I see that. Marcia's asking the question about what size of a system can you have if you are building a new house, and because you don't have the historical data. And I know there's obviously a calculation that the utility does in order to kind of determine what you would use. I'm not sure exactly how they do that. Does anybody have any experience with how either consumers or DTE would kind of calculate how much a new house would, what size system would qualify? Any experience with that?
Well, this is John. I don't have any direct experience, but I think going back to Dave Curtis's comment earlier, how many people are in the family, how large the house is, what kind of appliances do you use, do you have an electric car? So I think it's really a process of negotiation between the homeowner, their solar installer, which almost acts like an agent, and then, of course, a utility. And because the law now says it's 110%, I think there's more wiggle room in terms of projecting how much energy you will need in your new house. And then you can, negotiate, so to speak, with the utilities.
Yeah, and you've got your home builder. Some of them probably have a good handle on how much energy you'd be using in a house they're building, so that your builder might be able to kind of give you a pretty good estimate. I'm not sure whether all builders would do that, but that's I would think that would be an option. Other questions before we got about 5 minutes left. Other questions for Rick, or other comments you want to make, Rick? I appreciated your lessons learned. And one thing I found interesting was how complicated the legislative process is. I think if one takeaway I have is that you have to be very patient, persistent, keeping track of who's on first and who might do what when is a challenge. But that's why it's so helpful to have groups like MyCan and GLREA and other groups that kind of can help folks who are trying to figure out the legislative process, because it's your kind of description of all the various steps and how things changed over time, I think, was very enlightening.
The other takeaway, frankly, is that we have to be persistent. That simply because we couldn't get it in one legislative cycle doesn't mean that we give up, because it's an educational process. It's putting pressure on legislators, and it's kind of building political consensus around the issue. And so it literally took us probably 6 years from the moment we started And but we ultimately became successful, and so.
And we do have a question in the chat about does putting panels on roof risk roof damage? And this question has come up quite often, and everybody has kind of indicated that there has been no indication that that's been a problem. In fact, the area that's covered by your solar panels are probably protecting your roof, and so the industry has actually been around for quite a while now, and so they have learned how to deal with putting panels on roofs and making sure that there's no penetrations to the roof that are going to cause problems. And so, yeah, it's kind of amazing that we haven't heard about problems with respect to roof damage, but I think that's because of the technology and the quality of the installers. But a consumer beware, because there have been, as John mentioned, some companies that literally started up, hired a lot of people, and they didn't necessarily know exactly what they were doing. So, but that's a non-issue as far as I know, and I think we would have heard something, because we have most of the solar installers belong to GLREA, and obviously we got a lot of individual members who are solar owners, and so that's an issue that people have, but it's kind of become a non-issue.
When I installed my solar system, Homeland Solar asked me to take pictures in the crawl space at the underlying structure supporting the roof. So they double checked to make sure that the roof was properly supported, that it could handle the additional weight of the solar panels. And I think that's a pretty standard practice. But clearly, if you have an old roof, you're better off replacing the roof than putting your solar panels on, because you don't want to be in a situation where you have a really old roof, then you put your panels on, and then 5 years later, your roof needs to be replaced, and you have to take the panels off and repair the roof or replace the roof, and then you have to put the panels back on, and that just costs some time and money. So
Yeah, I was concerned myself. I asked about that question before they got on about drilling through the roof. And I was worried about water getting in. And they was explaining to me they kind of find the support beams underneath the roof, and that's where they drill the holes to anchor the bolts that hold the rails on and all that. And then they showed me the flashing or whatever that goes with that bolt that prevents water from getting in, and they seal it, and it really is pretty watertight.
Now we're at 8 o'clock, and then next week we have a member meeting, and there's always a lot to talk about, both in Washington D.C. and in Lansing and at the PSC. So I hope everybody will be able to join us next week for a member meeting. John will be sending out notices with the registration link early in the week. So hope to see everybody next week. And Rick, thank you very much for telling your story. And, I think you did a good job of explaining a lot of different aspects of your installation and what you found so far. And it sounds like it's all been very positive.
Yes. Yep, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, super. Okay, thanks everybody. So hope to see you next week.
Right.
Take care.